The bedroom door clicked shut, and the silence that followed was a blade slicing through the air. My wife, Claire, stood by the bed, her arms crossed, her lips a tight line that carved her face into something unfamiliar. "I'm done," she said, her voice low, like she was spitting out a bitter seed. "No more intimacy. Not until you learn what it means to be a husband." The words hung there, sharp and cold, a guillotine poised above our marriage. I stood frozen, my pulse hammering in my throat, trying to parse the accusation in her eyes. What had I done to earn this? Or worse, what hadn't I done? The room felt smaller, the air thick with the scent of her lavender lotion and the faint tang of my own sweat. Our bed, once a sanctuary of whispered promises, loomed like a battlefield. I wanted to argue, to demand clarity, but her gaze, those green eyes that used to spark with laughter, now burned with something I couldn't name. Disgust? Resentment? I swallowed hard, my mouth dry as ash. "Claire, what's this about?" I managed, my voice cracking like thin ice. She shook her head, her auburn hair catching the lamplight, and turned away. "Figure it out, Mark," she said, slipping into the bathroom. The lock clicked, a sound as final as a slammed door. I sank onto the edge of the bed, my fingers gripping the quilt she'd picked out 2 summers ago at a flea market. She'd been so excited, her smile wide as she'd held it up, saying it was perfect for us. Now that memory felt like a lie. I replayed her words, intimacy strike, and felt a sick churn in my gut. Was this about the late nights at work? The missed dinners? I'd been grinding at the firm, chasing a promotion to secure our future, her future. Didn't she see that? Or was it something deeper, something I'd been too blind to notice? The next morning, the kitchen was a stage for our new, uneasy script. Claire moved with mechanical precision, pouring coffee into her mug, avoiding my eyes. The clink of her spoon against the ceramic was the only sound breaking the silence. I tried to bridge the gap. "Can we talk about last night?" I asked, leaning against the counter, the cold granite biting into my palms. She didn't look up. "There's nothing to say," she replied, her tone flat, like she was reading from a memo. "You'll figure it out when you're ready." Her evasiveness stung, but there was something else, a flicker of nervousness in the way her fingers tightened around the mug. I brushed it off. She was upset, that's all. I'd fix this. Days bled into weeks, and the distance between us grew, a chasm widening with every unspoken word. Claire's strike wasn't just about physical intimacy. She was pulling away entirely. No more casual touches, no more shared laughter over late-night TV. She'd leave the room when I entered, her phone always in hand, her thumbs moving in a blur. I told myself it was work. She was a graphic designer, always tethered to clients. But the late-night texts, the way she'd angle her screen away from me, planted seeds of doubt. I ignored them, clinging to the belief that love could weather this storm. One evening, I came home early, hoping to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like it's holding its breath. I set the bags on the counter and called her name. No answer. Her car was in the driveway, so I climbed the stairs, my footsteps muffled by the carpet. Her office door was ajar, and I pushed it open, expecting to find her hunched over her laptop. Instead, she was on the phone, her voice a hushed, urgent whisper. "I can't do this anymore, Ryan," she said, her back to me. "He's starting to notice." My heart stopped, a cold fist squeezing my chest. Ryan? Who the hell was Ryan? I backed away, my breath shallow, and retreated to the living room, my mind spinning. I wanted to storm back in, demand answers, but something held me back, fear, maybe, of what I'd uncover. Instead, I waited, the takeout growing cold, the smell of lemongrass turning sour. When she came downstairs, her face was a mask of calm, but her eyes darted to mine, searching. "You're home early," she said, her voice too bright, like a cracked bell. I nodded, forcing a smile. "Thought I'd surprise you." She didn't reply, just grabbed a plate and served herself in silence. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words, "He's starting to notice," looped in my head, a taunt. I stared at the ceiling, the shadows twisting like my thoughts. Ryan. The name gnawed at me. Was he a coworker? A client? I'd never heard her mention him. But then, how much had I missed? I thought of the past few months, Her late nights at the studio. The new perfume she'd started wearing. The way she'd flinch when I touched her. Red flags I'd dismissed as stress. As my fault for not being enough. Now they glowed like neon signs. I needed proof. The thought made me sick, but I couldn't live in this fog of suspicion. The next day while she was out, I opened her laptop. Her password was still our anniversary date, small mercy. Her email was a minefield. Messages from Ryan filled her inbox, innocuous at first, project updates, design notes. But buried deeper were others, intimate, laced with a warmth she hadn't shown me in months. Miss you already, one read. Can't wait for Friday. My hands shook as I scrolled, each word a dagger. There were photos too, Claire and a man I didn't recognize, laughing at a cafe, his hand on her arm. The timestamp was last week. I closed the laptop, my chest tight with betrayal. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed a plan, something to reclaim the truth without losing myself to rage. For days, I played the part of the oblivious husband, watching her every move. She was good, too good, covering her tracks with practiced ease. But I saw the cracks. The way she'd jump when her phone buzzed. The forced cheer in her voice when she spoke to me. Friday came, the day she'd mentioned in her email. She told me she had a client dinner, and left, her perfume trailing like a ghost. I waited 10 minutes, then followed. My car crawled through the city, tailing her to a dimly lit restaurant downtown. Through the window, I saw her with him, Ryan. He was lean, with a boyish grin that made my stomach churn. They leaned close, her hand brushing his, her laughter cutting through the glass. I didn't storm in. Instead, I drove home, my knuckles white on the wheel. In our bedroom, I packed a bag, not to leave but to prepare. I printed the emails, the photos, and left them on the kitchen counter, a silent accusation. Then I sat in the dark, waiting. When she came home, her face paled at the sight of the papers. She started, but I cut her off. Don't, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I know everything. She crumpled, tears spilling, but I felt no pity. Only a hollow ache where love used to be. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. It just did. Her words were flimsy, a house of cards collapsing under scrutiny. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The truth was punishment enough. I left that night, the printed emails in my bag, her sobs echoing behind me. The plan wasn't revenge, it was freedom. I'd rebuild, piece by piece, without her shadow. As I drove into the night, the city lights blurring through my tears, I realized the real betrayal wasn't hers. It was mine, for loving her too blindly to see the truth.